Just want to say a prayer, bro, before, if you don't mind. Just calling all of our ancestors and spirits of the Bunjung Nation just to be with myself and brother Tom, just to guide us and be with us during this vulnerable conversation, to help share powerful messages to the world, to help support and uplift men and women that have experienced this grief and pain of loss of life. Yeah, and hopefully we can use this pain to alchemize and help others get through it and know that they're not alone. I hope. Tom Horne, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, mate. Appreciate it.
So I'm going to dive straight in here. You lost your son just over 2 years ago.
Just under 2 years ago.
Just under 2 years ago, after witnessing your partner give a home birth, after being with your son for 7 hours. I'd just like to know how that experience was and how it's affected you as a man.
Yeah, wow. Big question. Something I'm still grappling with, I think. How has it affected me? Well, as you know, as a father, having a child is one of the most, if not the most transformative, life-changing event you can experience. And losing a child at the same, almost in the same moment, in the same day, is another completely life-changing event, but on the opposite end of the spectrum. It's like the pendulum swings one way of complete awe and bliss and just, it's hard to put words to, childbirth, life creation, and then for it to just swing to the other side and to be experiencing death. And this fragile, it just showed me how fragile life is. To experience birth and death in the same moment, in the same experience, that day wrapped up into a little parcel was life and death at the same time. And it's changed me in so many ways. I think we could speak at length for it, but it's completely, at the same time, how it was both ends of the spectrum. That's how I feel about it. On one end is just heartbreak and just raw emotion of loss and grief, and just knowing that that's happened. And then on the other end, as hard and as weird it is to say, there is something beautiful in it all. And it's taken me some time to process that, but it's taken me much shorter time than it has my partner, because as a man, I didn't grow a baby. I didn't nurture this little being into existence inside of me. I can't even imagine, and I'm sure you can't either. We can't fucking imagine even doing that. It's just not biologically even an imagination. We can't feel what that experience is like. So I can't compare it. But watching my partner go through that process of growing a baby to full term, a healthy baby, or at least what we thought was he was healthy, actually had underlying heart condition that we were unaware of. But to see her go through the excruciating initiation of birth for 7 hours later, that little being to die in her arms, it's something I'll never understand. And as a man, all I can do is do what we do and be the best, provider I can be, create as much safety as I can. Yeah, just have patience. Because as a man, it's so easy to just, and I'm speaking for myself, but I feel like you can probably relate, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. It's like, often we just want to get on with things, keep moving, solve problems. I believe we're biologically kind of inclined to want to solve problems and help out. But when you go through a tragedy like child loss, there's no solution and there's no fix. And that's been the biggest challenge with it, is just knowing that what is, and there's nothing we can do to bring Dash back. And his purpose in his life was to be here for a short time and to witness us as his parents and feel that. And it was just for a short moment. And as heartbreaking as that is, there's nothing that can be done. So
just want to honor that and feel that, because I feel it, man. It's a massive, massive event, and it's to experience seeing your partner grow a baby for 9 months, to then go through the pain that she went through, to then birth the child, for then that to be stripped away. I can only imagine the absolute pain that it must cause, because witnessing my partner go through a birth alone was an initiation and a rite of passage to manhood in itself. But for them to experience this other spectrum of that, of being taken away from you, it's like being initiated to manhood, and then for that to be taken away from you, but still be initiated into manhood without the child. But also that other end of the spectrum is an even deeper initiation to manhood. It's a double whammy, but
a double whammy, that's what it is.
It's hard to put into words. It's hard for anyone who's not experienced birth or experienced the death of a child that is born. Like, a lot of people go through deaths of unborn children, which is, miscarriages, which is a completely different level of loss. Not to take away the pain from it, but just the magnitude of holding your child and just, yeah, I just think about if that happened to my daughter, how it would have absolutely ruined me, and how it would have, yeah. I've just got to feel that and experience that, and to then see your partner go through that amount of pain and that amount of loss, because she did grow and nourish this child for the first 9 months, and then experience that pain of birthing. And there's a connection on a deeper level that women are forced into initiation and forced into, pain, and forced into fully dedicating their lives to this child, not only at birth, but for the years to come as well, which is what I've seen with my partner. And then to be a man going through that grief, and then trying to hold space and capacity to support your partner who's going through that as well, whilst healing the pain of birth as well, and healing their body from the pain of birth whilst grieving. How do you manage something like that?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no guidebook. There was really little support, actually, to know what to do. Because obviously, after you've given birth, there's all kinds of complications, like milk. With no baby, milk still starts to come through. But you need to, like, these biological, and then oxytocin you get, that's why when, or at least what my understanding is, when women give birth, the pain quickly becomes a distant memory because of all the oxytocin that floods their body when they're holding their baby. So it just, it's the love hormone. Where when there's no baby, there's no oxytocin. So you're having to deal with all the trauma that's there. But, there was night terrors. There was there's a doctor we saw, Dr. Oscar. He talks about the biology of loss, because it is a biological. There's all these biological things that happen for the mother. It didn't really happen for me, like this feeling of loss, like something's just been taken from your arms and you're searching for it in the middle of the night. Like there's an emptiness, there's a hole that I was just witnessing somebody go through, and I couldn't. Again, it's just like I couldn't do anything. There's nothing I could do apart from just be there, and try and support that we found. We eventually found it through other women and families that had lost babies, and but yeah, unfortunately in our culture, like we were talking about off air before, death it's not considered often. It's something that as a topic and a reality is often avoided, I think. And particularly with birth, because when you go through a childbirth and there's a fatality, that baby didn't make it, and you learn the statistics, I can't remember what they are, but they're much higher than you'd ever imagine. And we all go into birth thinking it's all going to be, best case scenario. And unfortunately, a lot of the time it's not. And yeah, there's not that much support. So it's a very lonely, isolating road. It's a club that you sort of get initiated into, the club that no one wants to be in as a parent. Like you're saying, it's the initiation into fatherhood that nobody ever would want, because it's and motherhood, parenthood. The path of the grieving parent, the bereaved parent, it's not. You wouldn't wish it on anyone. It's a lonely, isolating, painful, traumatic path to walk. And from so far, we're only 2 years into it, and we're still trying to build a family, but we're getting there. But yeah, these things, they stay with you forever. Their life change, just like a birth happens and it changes your life forever. So does death. And unfortunately with child loss, both of those things come together, and it's just, a double whammy that you then have to carry with you from here on out.
Yeah. I just have to feel, man. And because, in our society, death of, older generations, even that is unspoken. And they've lived a lot of their lives. And even then, people are still unsure of how to grieve. Well, me personally, I'm still learning the correct way to grieve, if there is one, or not getting too stuck in the grief to where I start becoming a victim and using that, just living in victim mentality the whole time, but then honoring the grief and honoring the loss and honoring what has gone on. Because as you said, as a man, we're conditioned to just keep going and got to keep providing. I've got to be there for my partner. But then when do you get the time to actually feel and process this grief yourself? So how have you finding the balance between honoring the grief but not remaining too in the depths of it to where you're just stuck?
Yeah, I think my reaction, my reaction after our son, his name is Dash, after he passed away, I didn't take any time off work. I kept working, and part of me knew I needed to financially. Like, we didn't have savings to fall back on. We didn't come from money, so it's not like we were like, okay, this is a real, like, for me, my instinct was to like kick into this gear of like, okay, we need to keep this ship afloat. And I'm looking at my partner, and I think subconsciously or consciously, I'm sort of freaking out, going, fuck, this is the reality. Like, this is not good. The shock that we're both in, but particularly my partner Lucette. Yeah, I just knew I had to keep some sort of stability. And I also knew I had to I almost had to prove to myself mentally that I was okay. And work actually helped me in the interim, because I was able to still keep some familiarity throughout my day. Like, I could still think about things that I knew in the past I could think about, and my brain was working. So I was it gave me some reassurance that, all right, I'm not losing the plot here. I'm in deep grief. Like, in those initial weeks and months, like, it was just dark, like tears, cry, like just sobbing, and like just uncontrollable emotion that would just pour through me in ways that I'd never experienced in my life. After losing family members and friends, like, this was a whole nother level. But at the same time, I just knew I had to, like, you don't cry all day long, there would be pauses, and I would just get these moments of like, all right, focus, like, keep the ship afloat.
Yeah.
And I knew that it was going to catch up with me, but I knew biologically I could wait to process. I knew that if I just let everything go and just fell apart, so to speak, it wouldn't be good for either of us. But I knew as well that the time is going to come where I'm going to need to process, but it's not now. Because if it's now, no one's going to cook, how are we going to eat? Rent needs to be paid. These foundational elements that still need to happen with life, survival, roof, food and shelter. People don't come and save you in these situations. And it's grown me a lot through this, because it's like, fuck, when shit hits the fan, at least I felt like I didn't have an option. Maybe some people, they are carrying wounds already and it's too much. I think an earlier version of myself, a younger version of myself, potentially would have turned to drugs and alcohol and coping mechanisms to help me get through. But fortunately, I was at a stage in my life where I felt like I had some tools and some awareness that this is one of those moments in life. You're either going to sink or swim. You're either going to let all my demons and insecurities and parts of myself I don't like, or whatever those things are, the boy in me, I wasn't going to let him take over. I wasn't going to default to being that guy and just tapping out, not being there, drugs, alcohol, disassociation, numbing out, all these things I could have so easily had done. But something in me was like, no, this is actually your opportunity in a way. Even though I didn't think that at the time, I just saw this as this moment in my life where I was like, this is real. Like, this is one of those times where you've got, you're looking at it. I can let this ruin my life, or I'm going to continue on my path and keep growing and not let it break me and not let it break my partner or our relationship. And that's been, I'm still living in that day to day, the challenges of that. So
you said that it changed your life a lot, which, yeah. How do you feel it changed you the most? Do you think it's the way that you can observe your thoughts more, or the way that you can step into your role more? How do you feel it changed you?
I've spoken about this a little in the past, but one way to look at it is my capacity to deal with stress. My capacity to hold, particularly my partner or myself, you know, in really deep times. You can't learn those things without going through them. It's given me a responsibility that I'd never, and I think I would have taken on that responsibility as a father regardless, but it's just another, it's the response, it's accepting, it's given me this ability, or this, not ability, this, it's taken me through a process of accepting what is and rising to the challenge, whether that's the one you chose or not. Because when you fall pregnant, you're preparing yourself to become a dad, and all those roles that you typically would imagine. And then when that gets taken away and this whole new challenge is presented, you don't have a choice. And you can sulk about it or, wish it wasn't happening, but it's just like, it's changed me in the way where I'm just like, okay, this isn't up to me. This is what I need to do. This is the life that has presented to myself, whether I like it or not. Hopefully one day this will be a big blessing and we'll look back and go, fuck, as much as that hurt, that really made us. And I think that's how it's changed me the most. I was always a positive, optimistic guy, but it's also brought me into a new level of just like I've got no patience for bullshit anymore. Relationships, like friends, people who I work with, like projects I work on, if it's not in line with me now, I struggle, man. I can't do it. It's like
you've kind of like realized how, like you said before, precious life is and how short-lived it can be and how things can change in any moment. It's like an awakening of sort, because I don't know why it comes to me, but I experienced an earthquake and it just happened instantly and my whole reality shifted in that moment and just caused absolute chaos for days. And my life changed from that moment as well, just the trajectory of my life and where I was and where I was going. And you just have to step into this survival state or this fight state or whatever it is. That's the real life fight or flight, not just whatever this society thinks is fight or flight. And you've now seen the depths of pain, which most people are too afraid to even think about, never mind come on a podcast and speak about. So that in itself is an absolute blessing, and for you to have the courage to speak about it, to then help other people that may be going through it, because there isn't that much information, there isn't that many men speaking about it. And I can speak for myself. After losing 2 unborn children after my first child, I didn't really want to speak to anyone about it. I just didn't really trust people enough to tell them about my story, or I didn't want to put that burden on other people. Yeah, there was a few that I would tell, and there was a few I could confide in, but mainly I was just speaking about it with my partner. And for you to then openly speak about it on socials and come on a podcast and speak about it, it's kind of opened my eyes and my mind a bit more to it, because I have been just getting on with life, because I did have a daughter already, and I was distracted with that, and I had to keep the ship afloat, as you would say, and keep providing and keep working and keep building, whilst also trying to honor this spirit and this soul that came to us and then left us, and also try and trust that it was for a reason and it was for a growth of myself. That's the way I view it, and that's the way my partner views it as well. It's like this soul came to us just to, teach us a lesson of some sort, or to make us feel something that we was avoiding, so then we could grow and evolve as humans, and to appreciate life even more, and appreciate our daughter even more, and appreciate the fact that how lucky we were to have a home birth and for it to go so smoothly. Because like you said, not everyone has births that go smoothly, and for me, having a home birth was absolutely mind-blowing. From where I'm from in England, no one really speaks about home births, and I came to Australia and my partner was like, I want to have a home birth. And I was like, okay, can we get someone there, to help us? And she truly believed she could do it by herself, but I was like, I need support, I need guidance, just because I care so much about your health, and I care so much about the child's health, that I'm not a medical professional. And if there is any complications, I need a professional there to guide through that process. And yeah, what a journey it was just to witness that experience, and to do it in our home, and for it to go so beautifully. I feel so lucky, and the experience of witnessing a woman birth is just insane. It's insane. I can't even put it into words how it feels. It's like you're entering into another realm, and I felt so helpless, witnessing so much pain from my partner, witnessing her screaming and making noises that I've never heard before, and then meconium came through, and I was like, I could see the worry in her face, and I looked at my midwife, and I felt so calm. I was like, how bad is it? And she's like, it's not that heavy. I was like, do we need to go to hospital? She's like, I don't think so right now. I was like, so I looked at my partner and dead in her eyes, and I said, you're safe. You got this. And I just kept saying that for 12 and a half hours, you've got this. And yeah. As soon as the baby came out, man, I literally said, we're never doing that ever again. We're never doing that ever again, because I felt so fucking helpless, and it was so painful to see the person who I love go through so much pain. And there's a part of me that still feels that way. Although huge. I see the beauty of my daughter, and I see what a woman has to go through to bring life into this world. There's a part of me that doesn't want to see my partner go through that much pain again. But at the same time, the reward on the other side is pure love, pure spirit, pure joy, pure source from the out of realms. Yeah. And we were naive enough we only had, I think, one scan during the pregnancy, because, you get these beliefs that all these things that you're putting on your baby's head, all these radiations and frequencies, could damage your child. And we had one more during the birth, just to make sure the heart rate was good and that it was, wasn't overly stressed. And I know you said that your child had a heart condition. Was that unrecognized because you didn't get scans?
Yeah. It was what we know now, and we've done a whole 180 on this perspective or belief system around birth or the free birth movement or these sorts of things, because there is a lot of rhetoric and dogma and a culture around it, and it's important. I think the intention of it's important. You know, a lot of it's around empowering women and bringing like sovereignty back into the birth space, because the hospitalization of birth, and it's almost like an industrialization and all of this stuff, which is important to recognize. And we bought into that, you know. That was very much our belief system too at the time. But then, yeah, you kind of weigh it up when things don't, because part of the rhetoric and the dogma is that birth's 100% safe. It kind of comes across as a lot of birth educators are sort of preaching that don't trust the hospitals, home birth's the safest option, you know, kind of like fuck the medical system. But it's all good and well to say until, you know, birth's not a guarantee in any place. In fact, there's never going to be a cure to stillbirth or to genetic abnormalities or just unexplainable things that happen, complications. Birth is not a guarantee, or life is not a guarantee, because we're all going to die at some point. And unfortunately, sometimes babies, their lives aren't that long. Like you're saying, you know, some end up early miscarriage or whatever the best term for that is. And it just opens you up to like life, like, yeah, fuck, man, it's so fragile. It's so precious. It's such a miracle that we're even here right now at the age we are, after experiencing earthquakes and like the amount of times we could have lost our lives, you know, already, but we're still here. But yeah, going back to the birth, like now our next pregnancy will be taking things in a very different approach.
Will you be straight away in the hospitals, you think?
I think at this stage, and it might change, we'll likely be having a hospital birth. We've got to fall pregnant first, which has been our first challenge, which we're praying and hoping it's going to be soon. But yeah, just the trauma of having a home birth and it going wrong. And this is not for everyone. You know, some people might still want to have, every birth is so different too, as you would have learned. Like you talk to friends and everybody's story is so different. And it's all a unique case. We're all unique beings. Every birth is unique. But part of the trauma that we carry, and particularly my partner carries, is wondering, I guess I think the most acute trauma was the panic when he stopped breathing, and we had no support there.
There's no midwife or doula.
The birth keeper we had, she'd left, and we were a little misguided into his condition. We had concerns, and they were put at ease, and it didn't really sit right with us. And long story short, I won't go into all the details of it, but we were then alone and he stopped breathing. And it's just pure panic.
Did you have to like initiate CPR and all that stuff? Fucking hell.
So Lucette was doing CPR. We had the paramedics on the phone. And for me too, I don't think about this that much. I've got a photo. For some reason, I took a photo when the paramedics were at our house, and Dash was on the bed getting worked on by the paramedics. And for some reason, I took a photo at that time. I think partially to remember, like just to prove that it was real. Like in that moment, it's just like shock and utter. It's like the panic. It's so unbelievable. It's the kind of panic where you just question the reality that you're awake. Is this the dream? Like where Lucette, she went into complete shock straight away. She went into after giving birth, man. Like you're already in an altered state. Then you're giving CPR to your little boy that you've just birthed and you're so happy to have. And suddenly we're on the phone to the paramedics guiding us through CPR. And just the shock. I don't know what the word is. There's guilt, there's helplessness. Like that feeling you're talking about, like feeling under prepared. Like you don't, like the feeling of helplessness with no support when something's really going wrong. It's a fucking horrible place to be.
Yeah.
It's sheer turmoil, sheer panic that sets you into shock. And yeah, the difference between my reaction, like I said, I took a photo, but like Lucette was still, you know, like not even clothed in bed. And then we had 10 paramedics in the room suddenly. We had police at the house.
That's the last thing you want, man, isn't it?
Yeah, the house, like it was just chaos. It was traumatic. And I knew it was real. That's the thing. For some reason, my feeling was like, this is like my self-talk in that moment. I remember just being like, I could almost see the room from above, like third perspective, out of body, looking down at the situation. I could see me, Lucette, Dash, the paramedics, and I'm just looking down and I could just hear this voice from myself just being like, this is real. This is not fake. This is not a dream. And it was the most surreal, real experience where I knew, and I just knew he wasn't coming back. And yeah, I'm still like, I don't think it comes up sometimes. It's not something I think about all the time. Where Lucette, this is something that haunts her day in, day out. It doesn't haunt me, but it really hurts. It's emotion that I'd never thought was possible. To look back at the photos of him when he was alive, when he wasn't, the photo of him, whenever I see that photo I took of him when the paramedics were working on him, immediately it just brings up so much. I'm like, fuck, I can't believe we've gone through, like, this is what's happened,
It's that picture is a memory that you probably don't want to remember that much, and I don't know, I'd probably be the same and want to remember the absolute bliss and pure love and joy and the pureness of a newborn baby, to remember that part. Easier said than done because you've experienced the whole traumatic event. And yeah, I just want to touch base on home birth and hospitals, because like you said, not every birth goes to plan, and we were aware of that. We're not ignorant to that, and we know that hospitals can and do save lives in emergency situations. But I also want to honor the fact that healthy women and healthy babies, they are so capable of birthing in anywhere, in nature, at home. But also, we were so prepared and so ready to, if there's a complication, I'm getting you in the car and I'm driving to a hospital as fast as I can, because yeah, that's what I see the hospital as, is in case of an emergency, I will go there. And I was so lucky, we were so lucky that we had such an experienced midwife that was there as well. And I don't think she stayed for hours either. And And like I said, we didn't have that many scans either. I just think we were very, very fortunate and very lucky that our child came out. And even when she was born, she was, they suck all that gunk out the throat with the little things, and like, I was like, oh, it's so like fragile. You're like,
yeah,
what the fuck's going on here? Like, is she okay? And like, and then you hear him cry, and then they're sucking more gunk out. I'm like, holy shit. So yeah, I just want to honor the fact that a hospital can help and does help in emergency situations, but I also want to help women and couples still remember that they are capable as well. It's a fine line, because I know you've experienced a home birth, and I know you've lost a child through home birth, and I can see why now your next birth you'd want to be at a hospital, and I totally understand that fully. And if I experienced the same thing, I'd probably be the same. I'd be like, you know what, I just want to be as close to a medical professional as possible that knows what it is, because yeah, they do a lot of C-sections in hospitals, and they do, they got all these bright lights, and they take your baby away and do all these tests and put things on them. But if that means keeping them alive, it's a better option,
Yeah, we have been considering, like, we talk about it a lot, like, next time how we do it differently. And a home birth is ideal for us still. But the possibility of having to transfer would be too traumatic for us after what we've been through.
Yeah.
It's just not going to, we're basically weighing out being like, it's just going to be more secure and safe to just know that we're in the place we're going to ultimately be the entire time,
Yeah.
We're not going to have to transfer, like, because we went, Dash, we ended up in hospital with Dash after he passed away in Lucettes Arms, and they tried to resuscitate him for a while, and he ended up going in a separate ambulance to us, and we went to the hospital. And it's just like, there's just so much in all of that, but it's important, like for me to share this. It's not to say this is what anyone should do. Like, if you want to have a wild birth, do it, but just consider this information from somebody, and then still make your own gut feeling. Like, what do you that's what, like, I've got a lot of friends that have had wild births, multiple at home, no one there. I've had friends at birth in hospital. We're all mates, we're all, it's not like, it's not it's all personal choice. And, but I think it's having the information and understanding, just understanding what the worst case scenarios can be, because I think they're often or not looked at, and you need to be confident and optimistic, of course. And I feel like you've had a good approach. Like, you're also thinking, okay, what if?
Yeah, you've got to. Yeah, you've got to understand the risks of birth, and anytime a woman goes into labor, there's always a risk, no matter how healthy they are. Obviously, if they're a healthy woman, there's a lower risk, but there's still always a risk, and that is something that is not spoken about enough either. It's honoring what women put themselves through to bring life into this world. And
it's huge.
Yeah, I don't know about you, and I've said this so many times before, it fully shifted my view on women and my love and respect for women on a level that I can't really explain too much into words. It's just a feeling of, every time I see a woman that's given birth with a child, I know what they've been through. And every time there's a man by the side, I know that what the man has been through as well, to feel so helpless, but yet be the anchor and support system for this woman while she's going through it. So yeah, it's an individual thing. Like you said, it's trusting yourself. Like, my partner fully trusted her body and trusted the whole process, and I just had to ride along with that. Ultimately, it was her choice. It's her body. It's her, experience of going through this amount of pain, and I'm just, okay, I've got you, and I'm here for you, whatever that looks like. So yeah.
And the fear, yeah, it's a scary, like, there's fear in birth, like for us as men, I think. Like you're saying, you're there helpless, watching your partner go through excruciating, but also just transforming, and it's something that we'll just never understand. I feel like we're so simple in comparison, in a lot of ways. Like, to have the courage and the grit to have a baby and bring it into the world is something that it's like, men, we're just what? We're just witness. Yeah. And like, we're the anchor. And the more that we can anchor in that with birth, or just in relationships in general, I feel it's just like, the more secure we can be in ourselves, the more we can deal with whatever happens, because we're not in a relationship too. It's like, it's not up to us how your partner wants to birth. If we're scared and they're not, it's like us trying to control them to bend to our fears.
Yeah, and then you get all these other people that are scared of home births, then giving their opinions on it and implementing little bits of fear. So when me and my partner were preparing for the home birth, we kind of like isolated a little bit, because you tell people you're not getting scans and they're like, you should get scans every this, and you should do this, and you should do that, and oh, what about this, what about that? It's like, yeah, you could focus on all of that and make it your main attention, and in hindsight, maybe hearing your story, it would have been probably a bit smart to get more than one scan, but it worked perfect for us with one scan in the pregnancy phase and one scan during the birth. It worked for us, but I can see how, there could be more of a balance of having more, but yeah. It's just focusing on the positives of it and trying to not feed too much of the fear. And I feel like that is what, from my experience of hearing other people's birthing experiences in hospitals, they like to implement fear into the woman so that they can C-section and get the baby out as quick as possible and out. And that's just my opinion. That's just how I view it. And there is statistics to show that C-sections in Australia is at a very high rate.
Very common, yeah.
Yeah. And
might even be 1 in 3 or something.
Yeah, and it's a lot. And I don't know if you know, but when a baby comes out through a C-section, they miss out on a lot of connection and a lot of, I don't know the full scientific
bacteria
term.
and
from vaginal birth.
Yeah, like microbiome essentially.
Yeah, but at the same time, if it keeps your baby and your partner safe, it's okay. So right. I get it. It's just being able to view both sides and decipher on your own personal story and your own personal experience, your own personal tolerance as a couple, as yourself, how much you can hold. And it's okay to do either way. And it's okay if you go to hospital. There's no shame in that. Correct. It's just whatever journey you're on.
What I have been describing it and realizing it as is, and I've been a victim to this in the past, dogmatic belief systems. This is the way, you know. At one point I was vegan, it's like, everyone needs to be vegan and the world's going to be, I thought that was the solution. Like, I didn't know. But I was young, naive and nothing against veganism, but it's not, a lot of the dogma is that this is the only way. Same with religion, this is the one way. Any other way is not the right way. Home birth or free birth, same thing. It's not, when we cling on to one belief system or one thing, like ism, that path is the only path and all the rest are not okay. Like hospitals, if you end up in a hospital, you're, or if you're having a home birth, you're, it's like, hey, life is dynamic. Life is going to throw curveballs at you. You don't have the full picture. No one does. There's a lot of mysteries in life. Nothing's going to go to plan. Like for your whole life, there's going to be tragedy. You're going to experience pain. And you need to be open enough to adjust which I think's been a big process in my life, just learning, through being dogmatic in so many different ways throughout my life, coming to a point of like, okay, it's all good, it's all good. We can choose. Like, ultimately, life's constantly evolving. We're able to make a choice and change who we are, or make decisions who might perceive as us being different, but we're just evolving as humans, and we don't have to be set in our ways for everything.
Yeah. And also, something that I've had to learn is, because what I've found when I've started to evolve and things have started to click for me, it's like I see other people doing the things that I used to do and I want to help them, but it can come across in a way that it's a bit too pushy and maybe they're not ready. And it took me years to get here, but I'm trying to make someone get to this and see the way I see it. But I've realized that everybody's on their own journey. Everyone's at a certain progressional evolution, and it could take people years. It could take people months. It could take people lifetimes of reincarnations to achieve and attain the level of, call it conscious awareness or emotional intelligence or whatever it is that they're trying to attain. So it's just having that compassion and understanding that everyone's story is different. Everyone's going to do things in different ways, and there's not one way to do thing that's right. There's not one way to do something that's the right way. There's multiple different dynamic ways, and I think it's just holding space and compassion for that, and not trying to force feed someone with your teachings unless they're coming to you for it and they're asking for advice.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like ultimately, we're not in control. And at different points in your life, you're going to need different inputs, call them, whether it's like friends or spiritual texts or just nothingness. Like, and I think that's been a huge realization for me, is that, yeah, life, like I'm only 34 and I've experienced, and people have gone through much more than I have at much younger ages, but we're all on this, there's life's, we don't know what the fuck's going to happen with our lives. Like we're still so young.
Yeah.
But one definite is that we're all going to die. That's the only, I heard someone actually say there's two definites in life, death and taxes. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But, but death is, death 100%. And the older we get, the more likely it is to happen to us, and to us personally, but to those around us, right? Like my grandma, before she passed away, I think she was 99. And I just remember being like, all her friends are gone. She's the last one standing. The amount of grief, the older you get, the more grief you carry, because not everybody lives forever, young ones, old ones, like it's a delicate reality of the human existence, and navigating that pain with the love. Like one of the things I never really understood about grief until losing my son was that grief and love are deeply related. You can only grieve something as much as you're able to love something. Because if you don't love it, once you lose it, you don't care. But the deeper you love something, the more it's going to hurt, the more heartbreak it's going to cause you when it's gone. And that's the irony, or what do you call it, the double-edged sword of life, the polarities of life. In order to love, you have to be open to the heartbreak. You have to be vulnerable, to allow yourself to go there. Otherwise, you're going to live your life like a hardened fucking rock, not experiencing the full emotion. Like what it is to be a human is to feel, and I think there's levels of that, because men think some of us are more emotional and more feeling based than others, but in general, it's like we can be so busy doing things, building things, keeping momentum, whatever, keeping the ship afloat, that we forget to actually feel. What does it feel like to be alive? And there's also a lot of dogma. Like when you look on social media these days, a lot of it's all positively geared, which we were talking about off air a little bit. It's like, where's the balance between being a victim and then actually just feeling like, fuck, life can be really tough. Life, there's heartbreak. But we're, in ways, culturally, we're taught to almost like, don't worry about heartbreak, just think positive, think and grow rich, you know? It's like, yes, but, and feel. Like, what's really going inside? What, to be a human on this earth, it's like, without feeling, you're dead. You're just numb. So where's the balance of, all right, I'm going to allow myself to go here, to feel heartbreak or pain or loss or just the things I'm not happy about with myself, and sitting with them, but not making that your story and dwelling in them and that shaping who you are, even though it does shape who you are, you know?
Yeah, it's a fine line of something that I've been trying to work through as well, is how much to share with people and how much of it is actually dwelling and how much of it actually is grieving in confidence to tell other people that you can trust. It's something that I don't think I've figured out fully myself, and there is times where I have experienced grief, like my grandparents dying, and I remember being at the funeral and I was one of the only ones not crying, and I was like, is there something wrong with me? Like, why am I not crying like everybody else? But I just felt like I had to be strong and I had to, you know, just be strong basically. And a part of me afterwards felt guilt. I was like, why do I not feel as much pain? And I honestly believe there is a part of me that had a program or a belief system that to cry is a weakness, and you know, just to keep going, just honor it in that moment, but keep going. So I think there's a lot of losses that I've experienced where I've not fully honored it, and it hurts, man, because like you said, with love and grief, the more grief you feel, the more that you love that person. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing to sit across from you, for you to share this, because it gives me permission to feel for my losses as well. And I think that's a powerful thing within itself, to give men more permission to feel and not always just go, and actually show vulnerability in front of other men and cry in front of other men, and know that that is not a weakness, that is a true strength. And it's leadership of showing men how to feel in a healthy way.
It is, yeah. And I'm the same. I've said this before. It's like for most of my 20s, I don't think I ever cried. You know, like maybe once or twice. And you know, I had all kinds of things happen throughout those years. But I was so hardened, you know. And that thing, it's weak to cry.
Man up.
But it's almost like a programming, because I don't think I ever really saw my dad cry, or that masculine, that healthy masculine vulnerability where you're not being a victim. It's actually a courageous move to share yourself openly. And it's a fine thing, because it's like to share there's a courage in being vulnerable, because you're open to being perceived as weak, but it's like the courage is doing it anyway and not letting it determine weakness. You know, it's not it's a gentleness. There's a softness in it that actually has a strength to it. And when you haven't cried like your whole life, you know, as a man, you're just bottling. That's not natural. As a human on earth, we should be able to cry at joy. You know, crying can be from elation, from just being purely grateful to be alive, and like having tears from laughing, good times, but also from crying and and sadness and grief. And yeah, it's not demonstrated to us.
Yeah, we're gonna blow over.
Hope those sandbags are strong enough. That's all right.
They've been holding the wrath of Mother Nature recently with this wind. It's every time really powerful messages are spoken here, the wind just goes.
The wind shows itself.
It's pretty cool. I love it. I love just being intertwined with nature as well whilst having these conversations. There's just something so powerful about it. But
it's good. I enjoy what you're doing. I back it. I can feel your intention, your heart in this. I really can. And it is important. Like, this is exactly the demonstration I feel for the next generation, particularly. Like, it's important to be able to see men be men in their full spectrum, not just because there's a time to be hard. Like, I think we're programmed when a battle's happening, it's not the time to fucking cry and sulk and, it's like time to fight.
Yeah.
But it's knowing when the fight's over and having a safe space to be able to drop in and process your emotion. Like, I've got a group of friends, a men's circle that I go to regularly. So because I can't process my emotions with my partner. I can a little bit, but it's not the place. It's not the dynamic I need as a man to feel like I'm in.
Yeah, you need brotherhood.
I need my men. I need my men around me, and as well, that's missing a lot in society. It's just hustle culture, go. We're fortunate to live in this area of the world where it's more common, and people are making these moves to shift and not follow to forge our own path or find the path that used to be walked.
Yeah, because what I feel we've disconnected from in this modern day is rite of passage and healthy leadership from the males, especially for young boys and for young men. Where is the rite of passage? Where is the information and knowledge being passed down? Because it's being withheld by all these generations that have so much knowledge, and then they leave the earth, and it's like, well, what do we have now? We've got a system in place which is trying to disconnect men from the true powerful masculinity, and also from them tapping into their true powerful femininity within. So we've got imbalance in men, which then imbalances women. So I think what's required now is the new wave of men coming in, reclaiming the power of healthy masculinity and healthy balance of masculine and feminine. And I think they're coming in more. And I think this generation we're in is a completely new and unwalked territory for us men today, because, our parents and grandparents, completely different time zone. They were actually going through wars and they were actually fighting properly, And then our parents then had to be brought up through parents who had been through a war. You can imagine what was passed down to them, and then they're passing then that what they know best to us. And like I've said this before, I have no hard feelings for any of our parents or any of the ancestors, because they were doing the best with the situation they had. But for us now as men, it's our responsibility to recognize where we can improve, what we've learned, what mistakes they've made we can improve from, and we can take the great stuff that they've done, but we can also be aware of the things that can be improved. And it's coming through, man. And with all these men's circles and men like yourself sharing and me hosting this, I want to share messages to the world which need to be heard. I want to interview a 100-year-old that has lost everyone, hear their perspectives of life, and, get information from them of what they've learned, because otherwise we're gonna just miss all of this knowledge that needs to be passed down. And I think there needs to be more initiations for boys to become men, because otherwise we have to wait till catastrophic events or birth or death or it's so unprepared, and we're so unprepared as men of how to be and how to step into a healthy man and how to be supportive and hold capacity to be there for a woman.
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot of courageous men and a lot of vulnerability and a lot of openness to break that chain of events. But I can feel it, man, and I can see it in a lot of men around this area especially. I just hope one day that it travels to the places where it really is dark and really is suppressed and there is a lot of disconnect, because I can see and I can feel that it's needed, and this is my calling, and to host these spaces for people like yourself and all the other incredible people that come on to share their stories and share their wisdom, to then everyone that listens to it to hopefully just get one piece, or at least one piece of information that can help them just take that next step to keep going and keep leveling up.
Yeah, for sure. And the beauty of today's world is that information is abundant. It's at our fingertips.
Yeah.
And if you're feeling like you're struggling, or this conversation has been like, wait a second, fuck, like I want to get into that, like how do I, like, it's available. You just have to look for it. Men's support. There are people all over the world. And even if they're not all over the world, they're online that you can gather with and not feel isolated and lonely. If you're fucking over going to the pub and just talking the same shit and doing you're in that cycle of like, there's got to be something more. Well, there is, you just got to make the choice to step away from saying yes to all these things that you're just doing on autopilot because that's what people are doing around you. And you're going to go, no, I'm going to go and do something different. I'm going to not go to the pub on Friday. Like I'm talking from experience. Get into a martial arts or training or even just finding other people online that are going through the same, or have taken the step to get out of what wasn't serving them and into something that is. And it's a process for the rest of our lives. I feel the more we grow, the more we change, the more life experiences we have, and the more contextual support we need. And not even contextual, it's like just the space to be able to share what we're going through. Because I feel like I get the most value sharing what I'm going through rather than trying to workshop it. The just letting it be expressed, self-expression, is such a powerful tool to alchemize pain and suffering into something creative, some sort of art form, or even just moving your body. And it's like, it's just, these are things that have helped us forever. They're not these new technologies. They're simple things as men we just need. We're not designed to, we're designed to push through and fight and, rise to those challenges. But we're also designed to, when the fight's over, or the guard can be dropped, it's like actually being able to step into that space rather than always acting like it's still up. We're always on guard.
Yeah.
Can't ever let my guard down. Can't ever allow myself to cry at a funeral, to feel what's actually, because it's there. It's just how well we're suppressing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to touch on what you were saying before, about keep men and women that keep looping in the same cycle, like going to the pub every Friday and doing things every week, which that aren't good for you, and that it's not helping you evolve, and you have a moment of, I'm going to change, and you say it and you wake up, that day when you wake up hungover and you're like, I'm never drinking again.
By midday, I'm back at the pub having a beer and a burger,
Yeah, your mate invites you, and the self-discipline to say no is so weak that you just continue to go back into that same cycle. And you can either initiate change by yourself with bravery, courage, and self-discipline, or the universe will provide change for you.
Crisis.
Now, are you a believer that everything happens for a reason?
This has been a topic that my partner and I have been struggling with, particularly my partner, because everything happens for a reason. My perspective on it is I believe everything happens for a reason, but I feel like it can be said in a very dismissive way. Like, oh, you're going through some hardship. Oh, everything happens for a reason. Like, instead of dropping in, it's almost like an avoidant. It can be used as an avoidant saying to just blanket someone's experience as, oh, I just thought everything happens for a reason. Don't worry about it.
Or a coping mechanism.
Yeah, I think it can be used as an inability or an avoidance to go deep on something with somebody if they need it. Because you can just brush it off with that saying. But the true meaning of that saying is that everything happens in life is going to happen the way it happens. And there's nothing you can do to change that in the past. You can, like we're saying, change your habits or the things that you do with your life that you know you shouldn't be doing. You can change those. But there's some things that aren't in your control. Like for me, losing my son. Everything happens for a reason. Sure, that there's nothing that could have we'd done to have changed that reality. So yeah, that's kind of where I sit with it. I'm kind of juggling with that. Like, with my partner, she's very much like, oh, I fucking hate when people say that. You know, it's dismissive.
Because what's coming to me is like there's a potential that it's happened to you, so you can feel this deep grievance of pain, that this was your story, this was your path, to feel this amount of pain, to then find the courage to share, to help other people, to be of service to anyone else that may be going through this, because there's not that information there to understand this fully. So that's what I mean by happens for a reason, is
I think everything's obvious in hindsight. Like, you look back at your life and you can see how every event has led to the next. I think that's a real, of course, like losing my son it could have gone two ways. Like I said earlier in the piece, it's like I could have turned to drugs and alcohol and numbing out and dissociation, but I chose to face it and to just be vulnerable and share about my experience, because I'm being called to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not trying. I just feel like I'm like this. There is an element of like, this is happening and I have to allow it to happen.
Yeah.
And I can't, like, this journey, the path is there. You just got to walk it sometimes, and yeah, everything does happen for a reason, but it's not immediately obvious. And it's usually only obvious in hindsight when you look back,
Yeah. How's the relationship with your partner changed since the death of your son?
Oh man, it's constantly changing. We were only together for, I think, like 4 months before we fell pregnant. So we've known each other for a long time, but we got together, and Dash was conceived before we were planning on it. We knew we were wanting to have a family together. Dash was a bit of a surprise. And yeah, so we got thrown in the deep end in a way. Lucette was just moving back from, she was living in Los Angeles for a while, and she came back to Australia and fell pregnant pretty much instantly. So I look back, and that period of our lives, it was like the summer of young love, you know, like it was this, we were only together for this short window before falling pregnant, and now we've been together longer as bereaved parents than we were not. So man, our relationship is just drastically different. It's something I don't know what, like sometimes I think like, where would we be if Dash was never conceived? I don't know. You know, it would the last 2 years have looked like how they looked? Absolutely not, unless we don't know. We don't know what else could have happened. But the lightness, like I look at photos of us. I did a post about this recently. I look at photos of us pre-grief, and it looks like we're 10 years younger, not 2 years younger. Like grief has aged us in ways, physically, emotionally, spiritually, in ways it's unrecognizable. Like I look at photos of myself from a few years ago and I'm like, who the fuck is that guy? He's like a little boy. So our relationship it's been, because I don't know the statistics, but a lot of couples don't make it through loss. They break up after. I don't know the exact percentage, but it's common.
Why do you think that is?
I think if one way I can see it is that if you're not comfortable enough in yourself, like if I chose the drugs, alcohol, and numbing, I think our relationship wouldn't survive. Because it's just you're moving in separate ways. You're distancing yourself from what's happening. Where we haven't distanced ourselves from what's happening, we've been living it. We've been grieving. We've stayed together. I've been with Lucette. Like it's been the biggest challenge for me, supporting a grieving mother. Like it's been so difficult. I can't even explain. Like, it's just the last thing I would have expected to be doing, you know, and watching her go through the darkness that she has and just having to sit with her. It's not what you want to do in a relationship. You know?
It's the uncomfortable part.
It's the fucking dark part. It's the part that's going to break you. That's going to break the relationship. If you're not up for that, which no one is, but if you're not going to choose to stick at it, yeah, it's not what we want to be doing. But I know in the long run, it's going to, like, we're stronger than ever. I don't think anything could get us more close than the pain that we've experienced together. And then what's happened since, you know, the birth was, and passing was one thing, but that fractures your entire life. It's not just like that traumatic event is that moment, and then from then on you start healing. You know, it's like the whole last 2 years has been a traumatic moment, and we're still scrambling our way towards rebuilding who we are as this next version of life, of people that have gone through things. So how has our relationship changed? It's changed in every fucking way, man. Yeah. Like, it's intimacy is different. Having fun is different. Like, people keep asking us, are you guys having fun? We're like, I don't know. Like, no. Like, people are like, oh, how's the surf? I'm like, oh, it was fun. But I'm like, oh, fun? Did I actually have fun? Everything's kind of melancholy. It's hard to, it's that lightness and joy that you feel when, like, I know it's still there, but it's like, and that's this feeling piece that I know I need to process to get, like, I could easily just push it all away and be like, oh, back to anything's possible. Just keep chasing joy. And then that's probably why you get to a point, if our relationship broke down, it's because I'm just like trying to get out of there and just get back to happiness, get like without going through the depths of what needs to be felt.
Yeah.
And that shit takes time. And then you're dealing with everything else that life throws at you when you're in a state of despair. So yeah, it's life looks incredibly different.
Do you believe that you'll ever find that true feeling of joy and happiness again?
I think so. I think it's different for me to my partner. I think it's going to take her longer. I think for her, having another baby is going to be the real healer. But even just little glimpses, like I get glimpses of happiness, like of this feeling of confident, like when you have that feeling where you just know you're fucking good. Everything's good. I got everything I need. I get glimpses of that. It's not my constant state of being. But I know, like, every step, every day is a step towards it. That's why my Instagram's all about rebuilding my life. Like, I really feel like I'm rebuilding it from a baseline. And every day is just an opportunity to work, to just put another brick down, one brick at a time. Like, and I think, yeah, happiness is there. Like, even doing some breathing with you earlier, it's like I can feel the endorphins. I know they exist, that feeling of like, oh, life. But there's a new understanding of it where it's just like you can't have one without the other, or it's like they coexist now. Like when you've gone through a trauma or a tragedy, it's like the happiness is always going to be related to the sadness. And it's same with the grief and the love. It's like the more joy you feel, it's like, well, in relation to what? Because the more pain you felt is probably going to make your joy feel even higher. So yeah, it's
so when you fully come through that grief, the amount of joy that you're going to experience is going to be next level. Do you believe?
I think so, in a way that it's because I know what deep grief feels like.
Yeah.
It's like I know what that is. So when I'm not there, it's like a new marker. Like, and I know I've had moments of complete bliss in my life and happy. Like when Lucette and I first got together, it was like I look at photos of us, we were so happy, but we also looked so naive. Looking back, like,
yeah,
the hindsight we're talking about, I look back and I'm like, fuck, we had no idea what was coming for us. Just around the corner from that pure love, freedom, youth, just possibility, falling pregnant, having a beautiful pregnancy, home birth, everything, how it's meant to be, and then death and tragedy. And having that just be, you can't go back to how it was.
You can't unsee that. You can't unfeel
you can't get back to that pure naivety of life's just fucking perfect, And there's perfects in everything. It's perfects in death. But yeah, it's like you can't unlive these experiences. And that's grief, man. You take it with you for the rest of your life.
It just gets a bit easier over time, the more that you acknowledge it and the more that you sit with it, do you think?
Yeah, well, you integrate grief, I feel. It's not necessarily, like, I've heard so many analogies of people talking about grief. Like, I remember hearing someone say, oh, it's like a bag you carry with with you the rest of your life, but you get stronger, right? Which in some way, it's true. Time buffers the pain, because when something's so close to you, you know, when a tragedy's just happened or someone you love's just passed, it's so raw and real in that moment, and time eventually puts a buffer around that experience, and you can start to relate to it more. New life experiences come back in and create that padding. So yeah, but this is the thing. It's like the more the realization I'm having is just like the more we live, the more things are going to happen. Like we're so young still.
Yeah, I've still got my parents, and
I've got my parents.
I've not experienced that grief yet, and I do think about that, and I already feel the amount of pain that's going to come with that. It's completely different to grandparents. It's like the actual people that brought me into this world. So yeah, I'm trying to prepare myself for that now, just by, you know, putting myself through hardships voluntarily, whether that be physical or, you know, doing 4 or 5 day fasts, and whether that be running half marathons. It's like putting myself through pain. I know it's not going to be the same as when my parents pass. So yeah, that's something that I pray that I've got good people around me to kind of hold me through that. And I also hope that I've got enough tools and enough strength and courage to get through that myself too.
Yeah, and even parenthood, like your kids are going to grow up, your girl's going to grow up one day and be our age, you know, and maybe they might lose a child. Like, it's just like life, grief is such a part of life. And we were saying earlier, it's like in different cultures, grief, there was ritual around grief. It's normalized because it is normal. Everybody experiences it. And the older we get, the more it becomes present.
Mm-hmm.
And in our society, often it's sort of shied away from, or taboo almost. Like if someone's gone through a hard thing, it's kind of like, oh, don't ask them about it. You know,
Yeah.
Get back to, you know, like just pretend like nothing's going wrong. And
because a lot of people can't sit with uncomfortability.
And it's a cultural thing. You know, grieving happens in culture. It's in community. In isolation, it's not a nice place to be. Like we moved out of this area last year for a little while because we lost our house to mold and ended up in Victoria because it's a very dry climate. But we weren't near any of our support network, and it was not healthy. You know, it wasn't enabling, it wasn't helping us process. So it just shows, like, in culture, you know, you look at tribal culture, you know, or just older cultures around the world, grief there was a practice and a protocol around grief, whether that's the ceremony or even the annual, you know, even like Day of the Dead, or like, you know, annual like days that are recognized to remember that we're not all here forever. And life, you'll experience bliss and joy, but you're also going to experience pain and loss. You can't have one without the other. And the more we can get familiar, or them to not be taboo, I think the more better off we're going to be as humans, particularly in our Western cultures where a lot of this is just glossed over. And we just want to find solutions to feelings rather than just feeling, and honoring the human experience.
Yeah, it's like the traditional way of funerals in the UK is, you know, everyone usually goes to a church wearing black suits, and it's a really sad moment, and it's really like, it's just sad is what I can explain it as. And from experience, my nan's funeral, she was a churchgoer, and I feel like the service they gave her was a disservice to who she was as a woman, and the just a magnitude of love she emitted. And I feel that ceremony could have been so much better. And I've learned from going to funerals that I don't want to participate in the traditional funeral ways. I don't want people to come to my funeral in black suits and all depressed. I want people to celebrate my life, and I want people to remember all of the incredible things, and I want them to remember the legacy that I left behind. Yeah, grieve, please grieve, but also remember the great things as well. And then after the ceremony is complete, they then go to, either a pub or a club, and they all just get on the booze, which, yeah, it's a good place to socialize, but I also think it encourages avoidance of actual grievance, which is also me. It's funny because I want people not to wear black and be all sad, which is kind of avoidance of grievance, but I think there's different ways to do it, is what I'm trying to get at. And yeah, I don't know, I just feel the traditional way of, the cultural way of death in the UK, and I don't know if it's the same here as how they do it like that, is I just think, I don't know where it comes from, but I just don't align. It doesn't feel right for me. I feel there's other ways to do it. Like what would be, how do you view that? How do you view the current way of honoring death in this society?
Yeah. It's only became apparent to me after losing Dash where I've really thought about it, to be honest. And it does come up, like Haley from Paperbark, who she facilitated a ceremony for Dash, and it was beautiful. It was not your clinical, church-based service. We had a beautiful outdoor ceremony for him, and we could have still done it differently, but she kind of brought it to everyone's awareness. It's like, while you're alive is your time to plan your death. Because once you're gone, someone else is going to do it for you. And I'd never really, even like wills, and I haven't really gone through this process yet, but it quickly became to our attention. We're like, yeah, wow, like we're all going to die at some point. Me and Lucette looking at each other going, okay, like if I were to go, like how would my ceremony happen right now? How do I want to be recognized once I'm gone in that process? And yeah, while you're alive is your time is your time to have your say on that, because when you're gone, there's nothing you can do about it. But yeah, I think there's such opportunity to evolve that space, and yeah, and just process differently.
Yeah, for individuals, it could look very different, I guess. Yeah,
because yeah, often it's so just dependent as well, like on who your friends are, who, like some people. My experience of some services or wakes, like the wake, like a lot of the time people aren't even talking about the person that's passed. It's just the time, like you're saying, time to have a beer and crack a few jokes, which is, it's fine, but I think there's a missing piece around the grief and around this connection to spirit. And like I've spent a little bit of time in Arnhem Land in the Northern Territory, and when people die in the community, everybody comes together and they grieve together openly, like it's not done in, like, you're not hiding your tears. It's actually like tears are just show that how much you you're ushering that human, that spirit into the next realm. And the more that you actually present your emotion, it helps. It does a service to that person's life and their spirit. And it just shows how different cultures process the grief, and we shy away from it. It's like there's a insecurity around it.
Yeah, I'm wondering if my statement before about people not wearing black and being all colourful is me avoiding people grieving. For me, it's interesting. I'm just curious to my own thoughts of why I want it that way, why I want people to be happy at my death rather than in grief. Maybe I just... Yeah. It's interesting. Maybe I view grief as maybe a bad thing, or maybe it's a part of me that I'm still, like I've said to you at the start, I'm still learning how to understand grief better. And I think after this conversation, it's going to make some definite changes to the way I view it. And also birthdays, I think in society, birthdays are so just strange. I remember growing up, you'd go to a restaurant, happy birthday, and be like, don't really like that song. It's very monotone and very like robotic, and everyone's giving me presents. It's like, you know what that day should be about? It should be for the mother that birthed me. It shouldn't be all focused on me. Yeah, maybe some appreciation because I'm alive and I made it another year, but I think the real focus should be on the mother and the pain that she experienced on the day of birth. And there's too much attention on the child and giving them all these presents and material items, and I just feel that is so disconnected from what it should be.
Yeah, I've thought about that a little bit, but it's usually not thought of at all, is it? Like no. The birthday to the mother is actually a very significant.
It's like even for you with the day that Dash was born, that's a birthday that you can always honor for the experience that you went through, and you can create your own ceremony for the pain that you experienced and honor that every single year. And that's something that I'm reprogramming myself with birthdays, is how do I want to honor this day? My daughter's birthday, she's 3 next month, and I'm really want to honor my partner, and I really want to honor my daughter as well, because it's such a blessing to my life. And yeah, we'll get her a few things to make her feel special, but it's more about being present and actually just honoring the day. Yeah,
that's nice. Yeah.
What are some things that are exciting for you right now? What are you focusing on in the meantime? What creativity have you put your energy into?
Well, one thing that's came from grief has been the brand that Lucette and I have started, Sana Studio. This is one of our garments.
It feels cozy as, man.
Yeah, it's cozy. It's
I want one.
Plant dyed. Yeah, it's silk linen.
Nice.
Blend. We've been making pillowcases, and basically it just organically formed after spending so much time in bed grieving. Like, I've never spent so much time in bed or at home ever, and grief has just really brought importance into just, especially having the right comfort mechanisms around you, whether that's food or material. Like when you're in a state of deep grief, you're very sensitive to everything around you. And yeah, Lucette's a super creative woman. I'm pretty creative myself. I'm in branding and marketing, and that's what I do for work. I've always been entrepreneurial. I used to have a design agency for 8 years, and yeah, we just started making these garments, and that's been a really beautiful part of our healing together. And yeah, it's just in its infancy right now. We've just been making a few limited pieces and sharing those with people, and yeah, so that's exciting, and I'm excited. Yeah, just honestly, like making content and sharing self-expressing. It's just I've been called to just share more, and it helps. I think people misconceive, particularly people close to me or maybe my family, think that it's not the best idea, sharing myself and my experience. And I do think that, because it's like, oh, well, if I'm sharing about the hardship, am I creating this perception that I'm negative, or, I'm a victim, like we were saying. But I just see it as like, you just got to be able to be self-expressed. Like, share what's going on with you. That's what I'm doing. There is a force in it as well, because I'm like, so many times in the past I've tried to make content and I just fall flat. Like, I'll do, stick at it for like a week or 2 weeks, and then eventually I just, I don't do it. But there's always been this feeling inside of me that I've wanted to build my social presence, so to speak, and share what's going on. So yeah, I'm just chipping away at that. I'm really learning or being tested in patience. It has been really hard. Grieving and just knowing that things can't, like, I'm not in control. The more I push, the more things don't work out the way that they should, There's a fine line in that of just letting go whilst also keeping your hands on the wheel. So yeah, it's
yeah.
That's all I can really say at this point. It's Dash's birthday is coming up in August this year. It's going to be a big symbol of his passing and our lives and our relationship. And we've just moved into a new house after being displaced for over a year. We didn't have a home. We've been living in a caravan. We've been moving here, there, and everywhere. Our car went to the wreckers through the process. It's been so ungrounding. There's been no routine, no familiarity. Like, it's been raining a lot here too, which has been making things difficult. But we've moved into a house. We've got a solid roof over our head again. I'm able to find some sort of normality and routine. And these things, like, you just take for granted, just simple things like having a kitchen and a bathroom and, a bigger fridge. Like, living in a caravan was very testing. There's a lot of romanticism around it where you're like, oh, we're going to be free and we can move around. And it's like, you spend so much time like figuring out where you need to be and how to get there and setting up and packing down. And so, yeah, I'm just excited to like just be at home a lot, like to be in the one place and develop some routine again.
Yeah.
And I think as a man, routine, like, I thrive with routine. Not rigid like routine, but just like I know my things I can do throughout the week, and I've got access to them, and building from a place of that. So yeah, I'm just taking things step by step. As much as I would love to just, jump ahead and just, do all that, it's just also, there's been a real learning in just letting go.
How do you let go? I think that's something, for me personally, is something I need to do as well, because I have this vision of what I want and I want to get there quicker than what I'm getting there. And to let go of that is sometimes really challenging, because like, what can I do to get there faster?
Well, I think both coexist, because from my experience, I used to run a design agency for 8 years, and it was very turbulent, very up and down. We'd go feast to famine. We'd make heaps of money and then we'd go for ages without any money, and would go from, a lot to nothing. And it was like, it was so up and down and turbulent, but I was forcing it the whole time. I was stubborn. I didn't want to be seen as a failure. where ultimately the business did fail financially, and I had to walk away from it. But I look back at that process and I'm like, the signs were there, but I was so determined to keep going because I convinced myself mentally that that was my life purpose of entrepreneurship, which I still believe. Like I have this innate desire to build things and create things myself. And it's not about money. It's about putting myself out into the world. And I just feel like that's what I'm here to do. That's my creation. And my gift is that's just how I operate. I've always been like that.
In hindsight, what were the signs that you could have recognized now? Because, you know, when you are building something and you're building a business or you're building something that you believe to be your soul's purpose, but then you realize it was just a stepping stone to get you closer to your actual soul's purpose. How do you defy that in hindsight?
Well, for me, it was alcoholism, the feast of famine, the constant turmoil. It just felt like a grind.
Yeah, like you're swimming into a current.
Constantly. But I was so headstrong and determined and stubborn.
That's where you let go. I get it now. You're just like, oh.
You're just like, man, you're still allowed to have drive. You know what? But it's just knowing that, all right, like I want to go over, like my vision's up here, but being aware that there's many, many forms of expression and many different paths to get you there. And where are you outsourcing? Like for me, I had a business partner. I put way too much of my own power into someone else's hands because I didn't trust myself. So that's what forced me to, like, I was almost like clinging on because I was too scared to just back myself 100% fully. And I feel like this energy, like we've been speaking of, when you just know you've got everything you need. And sometimes I get this feeling where I'm just like, oh, it's already done. Like my dream's already true. I just have to take the step. But I don't have to force the step. It's just like looking around and because everything, like you know, when magic happens, like you meet somebody, like all the great things that have happened and the worst things, like I'm sure I'll look back at losing my son and be like, fuck, that actually was, you can see how that was a pivotal moment in me becoming my true close, like fulfilling my purpose, becoming like my higher power or whatever you call it. Like these things, you don't find these things like you can do a marathon or do these things, but like you're saying, it's like life will present. You can train for things, and then there's things that life's just, you can't plan for. You can't force. They're just going to align with you. And it's whether you're aware enough to recognize them or see them at that moment, because there's things happening around us all the time. But if we got our head buried in the sand, fixated on trying to make this one thing work, when actually there's these 10 other options over here. Yeah, I felt like my 20s were used learning that lesson the hard way, not backing myself 100%, not seeing this like using drugs and alcohol to suppress my unfulfillment with my life. Because now I look back, I'm like, of course I was drinking so much because I wasn't fulfilled in my day-to-day. And I'd drink because it would give me some sort of excitement. And the excitement was that feeling of me feeling like I'm living my purpose.
Yeah.
Instead of just creating that in my day-to-day.
I can see how easy it is, because even for me, whilst building this podcast, I'm wanting to take it to higher highs, which can take some time to build and to, you know, get to where I want it to be. And then in the meantime, doing a job which isn't my soul's purpose, but I don't have to, but I feel like right now, goodbye light, I'm trying to get at was before Mother Nature wanted to throw some fiery winds. It's how do you, because systematically you need to make money to be able to not survive, I wouldn't say survive, but to thrive and have more freedom, because money creates freedom. It creates freedom to attain your vision. So whilst it's hard to word this, but whilst trying to align and, say this is my soul's purpose, is to connect and to share these powerful messages and conversations with the world. But right now it's not. I don't even want to say that. I'm still waiting for the support financially to make that a reality. But in the meantime, I've got to do something which is a stepping stone to get there, which doesn't feel like my soul's purpose. So there's two things I could do. One of them could be I quit my other job and fully trust that money comes to me.
Yep.
But then there's also that programming that I've got to work through, a fear of not having enough money to pay rent. So it's a how do you find full trust, full belief, and full surrender so that you could quit that other job and allow what is actually needing to come in. But because you've got that fear of not having enough, you're not allowing it, and you're still doing the same thing over and over again.
Yep. The way I see this is at different stages of your life, it's going to look differently. We're a similar age, yeah?
I'm 34.
Yeah, we're same age. We're not 24 anymore. When you're 24, you can go all in on something with you got less responsibility. Now you got a family, you got a partner. There's a responsibility in life that you need to hold your end of the deal on. But I don't believe in compromising who you really are and what you really want for your life because you have these responsibilities. There's a solution, but it's not to say go all in on having to rely on a podcast as your financial to support your family right now. But that's the goal, right? Like that's what you want to, that's where you're going to be the most self-expressed, when you can dedicate all your time or the time that you would work on this and not have to work in other places that are less fulfilling. So yeah, I think I'm in a similar position. It's like if I didn't need money or to pay rent, my day to day would look very differently because I wouldn't be going, oh shit, how are we going to pay rent this week? But it's like keeping your eyes on, like, I got this cook, like you got to have multiple pans cooking, you know, multiple things getting sizzled and eventually you can turn the heat down on one and turn the heat up on the other. But yeah, it's a fine line because you don't want to put yourself into a position which I've done in the past, you're all in on something and it's actually creating more stress and becomes less abundant because you've put too much pressure on yourself to make it work. And it's leaning more into the force than the flow.
Yeah.
Because keeping the flow, I did a post about this the other day, reflecting on this. Flow, when you allow something to flow and the stream gets stronger, there's a force behind it. But you can't force something to flow. So it's like this dance of just like feeding your passion, like just keep showing up and doing, like for me, it's like with our business, like I can't rely on it right now for money, and I don't want to, because I know it's like if I start to do that, it's going to change the way I relate to it. So yeah, it's a delicate balance that, I think at our age, it's finding, it's a balance that we're having to find day to day of not compromising on what we want to do with our lives ultimately, but still being able to provide and pay the bills for our family.
Yeah, I hear you. And this is why I'm curious about it, because I've been in the same situation as you, where I've dedicated a few years of my life to a business which wasn't very financially successful, and the part of me goes, "Oh, I wasted so many years," but actually, it built characteristics and experiences that I would never have experienced if I didn't put myself in that situation. Same with me doing my gardening business; it's teaching me resilience and skills and manual labor and grounding, which is going to prepare me for when I start to get closer to my actual vision. So I'm trusting it, but also feel like I'm ready for the next step, and I can feel it getting closer. And what I'm doing here is why I do it for no money right now, because I love what I'm doing and I love connecting with people like you, and I love sharing the stories from people, just because I feel people can learn from this and people can evolve from this, and it can actually help people with the more that we share and connect. And yeah, and I believe once we are truly aligned with our purpose, and once we can actually be of service to other people, it'll come naturally.
Yeah.
It'll just flow naturally.
And little bit by bit, every day just do something small in line with your vision. It doesn't have to be this giant step every day. Some weeks we might have huge leaps of progress, and other times not so much, but it's just this flow of life, like I'm really finding that, it's like you might have the flow might slow down in certain points, but it's like, but what are you doing in those moments to keep you on your keep you aligned? Like if you're like, where's your time going? Like you're hanging out with people, you're still not getting the value, like the people around you, are they all supporting their visions? Are you, I feel like a lot of it's like growing together. I don't spend, like I used to be more social than I am these days, and particularly after loss, it's been, look, I've got some really amazing friends still, but yeah, life looks differently, and it's like like I'm finding this in this current moment. It's like I'm wanting to create a group, or like a new friend circle almost, of like people that are very much doing what I'm doing, like support, like got their dream, trying to figure out this balance and get going for it, not just talking about it. Like, because I've always been somebody that has like, I've always just had this burning desire to like do my own thing. Like it's just been there. I don't know how to explain it.
I know what you mean. It's just wanting more from what is currently out there, and not confining to the normal ways of working a 9-to-5 job. Like I've had about 40 different jobs.
Yeah.
And I only realized that working for myself and doing what actually is for me is what I need to do.
And I feel like this entrepreneurial path, it's what I've found is the biggest form of personal development, because there's no one to blame. You got to create your own safety. If it's not working out, you got to look at yourself. Like there's no one to turn to. It's you and your shadow.
Yeah, that's it. And being so aware of your thoughts. And I think that's where true power comes, is the more that you can be aware of your thoughts in these moments, when I am pushing them, or when I am doing stuff I don't want to do, am I then letting my brain go, oh, you don't want to do this, is shit, or no, this is actually teaching me and it's making me stronger. I trust this process and I'm grateful for this process.
Yeah.
It's the subtle shifts in the mind of, what are you going to let control your reality from what starts up here? Because there's going to be thoughts come in, because we have had programs initiated onto us, but it's then having the conscious awareness to recognize these programs, see them, go, no, thank you. I'm focusing on this instead, which is actually going to be of service to me and my family and every outcome. And it's going to help me align with my true purpose more than feeding the fear.
For sure. And yeah, it's a hard, I feel like for me, in a place where at this current moment in time, I'm not in the financial position that I would hope to be. And there's this grappling that I have where it's like the letting go. It's like, okay, where do you let go to the point of like, okay, what is meant to be, and where's the point of I've got to make this fucking happen?
Yeah, because it's like what is meant to be, but now I'm fucking homeless and I can't eat.
Yeah. But it comes down, like for me, what I see, it comes down to your support network, who you surround yourself with. Are you trying to shortcut things? You know, are you chasing things that are just shiny and new, or are you actually doing the things that are making the difference? You know, consistency. What I'm finding, especially with social media, you got to fucking be consistent. Show up at, like, there's no point making a really sweet video one day and then not making another one the next week. It's like you got to just be. It's like going in the gym. You know, it's like you can't just go once and think that, like, it's integrating these things, these practices into your life, and over time they compound. Knowing where you want to be as a motivator because you're not there, but also being okay with where you're at.
Yeah, being grateful for what you've got and counting your blessings, because we don't need too much. We just need to have a roof over our heads, have nice clean water and food and warmth, and that's what you need. Everything else is a want, a desire.
Yeah, and it's okay to want.
And connection, I think, is important, and that as well. I think that's a super important, as well as food, water, and shelter, is connection.
For sure. Well, I think I feel you got something good going on here, man.
Yeah,
I can see what you're doing. It's just stick at it. You know, it's and same advice goes to me. It's just like, I know you just keep steady.
Yeah.
You know, life's going to try and throw us off path. And the more that we can deal with these forces and stay true, stay on our path, that's all that we can do. That's what's meant to be.
And just be prepared for anything and everything.
And everything that does happen, like, no matter how hard life can get and will get at some point for all of us, you know, what I've gone through, I know that it's not going to be the last thing I deal with in my life. They're all just, it's part of the human experience. And I think that's the victim thing as well. Like, we're not victims of this. It's how it's meant to be. We are human. We're here to experience it all, you know? And the more we tune into I feel is like our soul's purpose, like our heart, like what we would be doing without money. As soon as you give up on that and you're just chasing, money, or, we got to keep doing the things that make us happy, that we just have this inner driving to do. Like, it's not even a conscious choice. It's a conscious choice to not do them usually, and then they niggle at you. So
that's good. You got to really attune to what ignites the fire within and follow that, and step by step cut out anything that isn't aligning with that, and step by step start to embody the characteristics and habits which are going to help you become that person you need to be to attain your vision.
And then when things don't go your way, it's okay, because
it's redirection.
Yeah, and you've got those tools, like if you're always letting people sway you off your path, when shit hits the fan, what's going to happen? You got no self ability to redirect your energy, and yeah, so Yeah, it's a journey, man.
Yeah. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you taking the time to come here and speak your vulnerabilities and your truths and talk about your griefs and yeah, just be so open. It's been an honor to sit with you, and I feel a great connection with you, and yeah, I'm here for you, brother, and I feel your pain and also feel the love. So yeah, I'm excited to see the blossom of you come to life, and I can already feel you're on your journey and your purpose. I can feel that you're alchemizing this in such an amazing way, and yeah, thank you.
Thanks, mate. Same goes back to you. That's why I was kind of persistent to come on, come and have this conversation, because I can just feel where your heart's at too. And I've listened to some of your past episodes, and you're asking a lot of important questions. You know, I can feel your heart's in it for the right reason. You're on a journey of your own. Yeah, transformation and being who you ultimately want to be and creating that for your life. So yeah, I respect you, and thanks for having us on. And yeah, glad to connect.
Yeah. Thanks so much, brother. Well, I think on that note, we'll end it here. And yeah, until next time, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for everyone. If you made it to the end of this conversation, I hope you felt the vulnerability and the heartfelt connection, because this is real, raw, honest conversations, which is why I'm doing this, is to share that. No bullshit, no identities, no nothing. It's just real, raw connection. So yeah, I really do appreciate everyone who is supporting this journey, because it only helps me reach new people and reach more guests that can share more incredible stories and reach more people all over the world which need to hear these messages to help just learn more about themselves and learn more about all these different parts of life, which can ultimately help raise the consciousness on this planet and help raise the vibration collectively. So then we can actually live in harmony together, and we can actually support each other, and we can bring back that village, that we're all kind of craving and missing, and the connection that we all want. So that's my goal and that's my mission. And yeah, thank you. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, bro.
Appreciate it, man.